Broadcasting. Live. From the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Marketing Above All podcast. Your source for all things, marketing and total world domination. This is Marketing Above All, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
So welcome to episode number 6. Hope you're enjoying this podcast, this show as much as I am. Absolutely love the comments, the questions, the ideas. Keep them coming. And as always, if you like this, please make sure you share it with a friend. So today's topic is this: joint ventures, strategic partners, and really kind of partnerships in general. So there's a lot of different ways to slice and dice this, but I want to boil it down so that it really makes sense for anyone listening. And when I look at how could a small business partner with either a similar business, a complementary business, or even a larger business? I mean, what does that look like, and why should this even matter? So let me give you some examples. So at a high level, a strategic partnership or a joint venture, normally it's, hey, if you're willing to promote me, I'm going to give you X percentage. So the fancy internet marketing phrase is affiliates. But what I'm really talking about here is more of a fusion partnership. And as I start to explain this to you a little bit, I think you're going to start to realize that there are a fair amount of businesses around you that are already taking part in this, and it's actually easier for you to execute. And the best part, the cost is absolutely nothing. My favorite type of marketing, free marketing. So fusion marketing is really how I want you to start to look at it, because I don't want you to get confused with, well, if someone gives me a referral, for example, I have to give them X amount of money, and I got to track all that, and are they sending me the right customers, and just all of that stuff. But rather, I want you to start to think about, how can you help other businesses grow? And if you take a step back and you really start thinking about their success and kind of really what they want versus what you want, more of these partnerships are really going to start to come to light. So let me give you some examples. So if you're waiting at a pizza joint, and I just love my pizza here in Western New York, and on the board in the restaurant, there are a variety of business cards that you can put a business card at absolutely no cost. And that's just a really small way that local pizza joint is helping kind of spread the word for people that are visiting their restaurant, for people as they're waiting to go and kind of just look about. And almost every single time that I'm there or stop in, which is way too regular, I'm going and I'm looking at the board. What are the different types of businesses? And you see the standard stuff. I mean, real estate agents, gyms, things like that. But then you might see some things that are not as traditional. You might see a Chinese restaurant. You might say, well, why would the pizza joint want the Chinese restaurant to advertise? Well, they're two completely different, quote unquote, cravings. And it's not like they're putting a sign up for a competing pizza joint. And the cost for that local Chinese restaurant or the realtor or the different people that are on that board is zero. The cost for the pizza place that has the board is zero. I mean, they're buying a board and putting it up there. They're not maintaining it. It's getting maintained by the community. So it's starting to look at, and that's the simplest of forms. But what I want you to take a look at and start to think about is, what are some of the different businesses that you could fuse a relationship with and help them grow? So I'm going to go to a couple of different niches so I give you just different real world examples. And I like to always give complicated ones, because often someone that's listening might say, well, I'm in this niche and this can never be done. So I like to give you even the ones that are a lot harder to think through so that you don't start to talk yourself out of using this strategy. So if I were to look at funeral homes, for example, you could easily fuse a relationship with churches. So how could you promote a particular church and actually help their parish grow? So if you put yourself in their shoes first before you thinking about how you're going to get paid, think about it. So what if there are people, and I'm sure there are people that are coming into the funeral home and they're going to say, well, XYZ person passed away suddenly and they really were not religious, but I'm sure they'd want to have a church service. So if you have a couple of churches that you're aligned with and have a fusion partnership with, you can mention this church and this church and this church. And as someone then is going and having the funeral service there, often they're building a bond, some rapport, some relationship with that particular church, and they might end up getting some more parishioners. Now, if you then flip the switch a little bit, how are you going to potentially benefit? Well, obviously, if it's the other way around and someone approaches the pastor or the priest, for example, at the church and says, well, do you have any recommendations for a funeral home? And they have a couple of flyers of a few different funeral homes that they can easily hand out. And you're also maybe in the bulletin. While that might be a paid advertisement, you would still also have that fusion relationship where you're kind of pushing people back and forth and being able to refer business. But you're fusing your marketing energies to make sure that both of you are growing, and then you're not having to worry about this whole affiliate commission and do you owe the church something or do they owe you, and all of that stuff. If you're a daycare center or a preschool, for example, you've got parents that are coming to your center. What are some of the other businesses that you could help grow? Maybe it's helping nanny services, babysitting services, taekwondo, computer classes, soccer, sports, dance. Like what are all those other things that you know the families are going to end up potentially partaking in? And you can start to fuse some relationships with those where you're able to cross-pollinate your database and help drive some more people to them and vice versa. Fusion partnership is completely free of charge, and it really just needs some of your brain power. It needs some of your creative thinking and energy to get out there and actually execute. If this strategy makes sense, and I hope it does for you, get out there, take some action, and let me know the results. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Marketing Above All. Now get out there, make a change, and take some action. And hey, don't forget to leave a 5-star review and tell all your friends this is the greatest marketing podcast ever. We look forward to seeing you here tomorrow.